Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to start with Vitreous Hemorrhage from Namrata Sharma, and as I promised, we are going to complete it in 2 to 3 months. There are 63 chapters, but I have counted more days because I'm going to include certain topics. I'm going to read certain topics from Ryan's Retina also. So before I begin with vitreous hemorrhage, I would like to talk about the vitreous anatomy in short. If you want detailed vitreous anatomy, there are certain videos, audio video on vitreous anatomy by me. I have read Wolf's anatomy for vitreous anatomy, and I'm going to share that link. But before you go to the detailed anatomy of this vitreous topic, you go through that inside ophthalmology video on vitreous anatomy. That video is very nice, like it has beautiful pictures, so you will have a better understanding. In short means like it takes about an hour, half an hour to go through that video. In 30 minutes she has explained vitreous anatomy in a very nice way. But if you want additional, like if you want the standard book, like we have to quote, right? If we are writing certain answer, or if you're giving any references, you need standard book. So I have made a video on vitreous anatomy from Wolf's anatomy book, and after going through that 30 minutes video on vitreous anatomy from inside ophthalmology, you can go through my video from Wolf's anatomy, and then you can proceed with vitreous hemorrhage. Or this in short video is enough on the vitreous anatomy. So vitreous, the origin of the word. Any topic or any anatomical part has its history behind its name. So vitreous, what is the history behind this, or origin of the name vitreous? So it comes from the Latin word vitrum. Vitrum means glass, and vitreous means glassy or glass-like. Vitrum, vitrum, it means glass, and vitreous means glassy or glass-like. So what is vitreous? Vitreous, it is a glass-like, it is a transparent gel-like substance, and its consistency is little firmer than the egg white. Its volume is 4 gram, 4 cc, and it is made up of, so composition of the vitreous. So there are 3-4 parts, you can say: water, then cellular components, then mucopolysaccharides and proteins. So water is 98 to 99%, mucopolysaccharide, hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate, cells, hyalocytes, these are monocytic macrophage in origin. They have phagocytic function. Also they take part in inflammation also, and they are responsible for synthesis of hyaluronic acid. So what are the proteins? Proteins, it is collagen, mainly predominantly it is type 2 collagen, and it is seen after the birth, mainly seen after the birth. And other collagen types which are found in vitreous are 9 and 10 according to the Wolf, and according to that inside ophthalmology video there are 5 and 9. So in Wolf it is 2, 9 and 11. So yeah. Now vitreous parts. Now vitreous membrane, vitreous cortex and vitreous medulla. The central vitreous is called as vitreous medulla. The peripheral vitreous, condensed vitreous, is called as vitreous cortex. The cortex and medulla, it has got similar composition, but it is denser. Cortex is denser. And membranes. Now membranes: anterior hyaloid membrane or anterior vitreous membrane, and posterior vitreous membrane and posterior hyaloid membrane. And posterior hyaloid phase is when the posterior vitreous detachment occurs, and that detached membrane is called as posterior hyaloid phase. Now membranes, there is an anterior hyaloid membrane and posterior hyaloid membrane. Anterior hyaloid membrane, near the lens area, it shows a fossa, a depression, that is called as patellar fossa. And when the lens is there, in between the lens and the patellar fossa, there is a capillary space, and that is called as capillary space of Burgers. Okay, Burgers space is there, and then in between the lens and this Burger space, the Burger space is limited by hyalidocapsular ligament or Vigus ligament. The pictures I'm going to share along with this video. And these hyalocytes which are present, these are not present in the central vitreous, that is in the retrolental tract, halocytes are absent. Halocytes are prominently seen over the optic disc in the around the area of the optic disc, then around the areas of the arteries and the veins, and the periphery of the vitreous, not in the central area. Vitreous base. The vitreous base is a broad band of vitreous condensation and attachment which runs circumferentially from a point 2 mm anterior to the ora serrata to a point 2 to 4 mm behind it. So nasally it is wider than on the temporal side. Like if it is 3 mm on the nasal side, it is 2 mm on the temporal side behind the ora serrata. So vitreous base, it extends 2 mm anterior to the ora serrata nasal, like along the 360 degree, and 3 to 4 mm behind the ora serrata along the 360 degree, but it is wider on the nasal side than on the temporal side. For example, if it is 3 mm on the nasal side, it is 2 mm on the temporal side. So the strong attachment of the vitreous to its external structures. First is vitreous base, then second is around the optic disc and around the retinal arterioles and the vessels. Around those areas, the vitreous is strongly adherent to its posterior structures or external structures, and around the macula. So that was all about the vitreous parts, membranous part, then cortex and medulla. Now, as we age, there are some certain degenerative changes in the vitreous. It shows the empty cavities, which is called as syneresis. Empty spaces in the vitreous is called as syneresis, and it is because of the alteration of the gel structure. And then there is a posterior vitreous detachment as we age because of the weakening of the adhesion of the vitreous to its external structures, and it gets fibular appearance. So the tracts in the vitreous: retrolental tract, coronary tract, median tract, and preretinal tract. Retrolental tract from the circular zone of the lens capsule, that is halariocapsular ligament, that is Vigo's ligament, extending posteriorly to the central vitreous, and it is conspicuous as a highly reflecting boundary, the membrane plicata of the wort. Now there is retrolental tract done. Then there is a coronary tract. The coronary tract, it is from the posterior third of the ciliary process extending posteriorly to the central vitreous. Median tract is from the middle of the pars plana, extends posterior backwards as a faint well into the central vitreous. Preretinal tract, it is from the ora serrata back to the central vitreous. So there are four tracts: retrolental, coronary, median, and preretinal. They extend posteriorly into the vitreous, and the membrana plicata of what is retrolental tract. So retrolental tract, it is from the Vigo's ligament, that is halariocapsular ligament. Then coronary tract, it is from the posterior third of the ciliary processes, and then median tract is from the middle of the pars plana, and preretinal is from the ora serrata. Now there are three zones, topographic subdivisions of the vitreous space. There are three zones. Three, two, one. The third number here is retrolental zone, that is bounded in between the two retrolental tracts, or in between the retrolental tract. The space, vitreous space, is called as retrolental space or retrolental zone. And then there is intermediate zone between the retrolental tract and preretinal tract, and then third zone is preretinal zone, that is bounded on outer side by the retina. So there is a retrolental space in between the retrolental tract, that is 360-degree tract, and then there is a preretinal tract and retrolental tract. In between these two, there are two tracts, coronary and median tract, but right now we are not taking them into consideration. In between the retrolental tract and preretinal tract, What is that zone is called as intermediate zone, that constitutes the coronary tract and median tract. Coronary from the posterior third of the ciliary process, median from the middle of the pars plana, and then on the outer side, bounded externally by the retina, is the third tract, that is pre-retinal zone. Third number is retrolateral zone, second number is intermediate zone, and first number it represents the pre-retinal zone. Third retrolateral zone, second intermediate zone, and first pre-retinal zone. So that was about the zones and tracts of the vitreous. Now we'll just learn about the spaces, okay? What spaces are important to learn in this vitreous anatomy? In short, I'll talk about that. So there is a Cloquet's canal. Cloquet's canal, it constitutes the hyaloid artery that supplies the developing lens and that disappears after the birth. But sometimes it can remain persistent, that we'll see in vitreous embryology. When its anterior end is persistent, it is called as Middendorf dot, that is seen on the posterior lens capsule. And then posteriorly, the remnants can be present as Burmeister papilla. Yeah, and what is the area of Martigiani? Area of Martigiani, it is the funnel-shaped or widened zone or dilatation near the optic nerve head of the Cloquet's canal. Cloquet's canal running through the central vitreous, and posterior end shows the funnel-shaped dilatation just anterior to the optic disc. That dilatation is called as, the dilatation of the Cloquet's canal is called as area of Martigiani. Now, we have already seen the Burgos space between the lens and the patellar fossa. We know the patellar fossa. We know the capsular ligament or the Vigus ligament. Now, what is canal of Hanover? Now, we'll just talk in short about the zonules. So, the zonules, they support the lens in a place, and these are also responsible for accommodation reflex. They contribute to the accommodation reflex. There is a hyalociliary zonule, then there is anterior limb of the zonule, posterior limb of the zonular fork, and equatorial limb of the zonular fork. Then there are hyaloid zonules. So these zonules, they enclose the space canal of Hanover and canal of Petit. So what are these? Canal of Hanover, it is present between the anterior and posterior limb of the zonular fork. That is anterior zonule and the posterior zonule. There is canal of Hanover. And canal of Petit, it is present between the highlight zonule and posterior limb of the zonular fork, or posterior limb zonule, or posterior zonule and the highlight zonule. There is a space that is called as canal of Petit. These are the terminologies you should know in the vitreous anatomy. I think this much is enough about the vitreous. Middendorf dot, Burgmeister's papilla, you remember. Cloquet's canal, you remember. And in vitreous embryology, you just remember there are three types of the vitreous: primary, secondary, and tertiary. If you want to go through the vitreous embryology, you can just go through the videos which are present on the Inside Ophthalmology channel. I really like that channel. You can go through the vitreous embryology through that channel. You will get every information. And if you want, if you want to standardize your knowledge after watching that video, because there are beautiful pictures, and those pictures make the video very comprehensive. And there is a video made by me that is actually audio video on vitreous embryology from Wolf's Anatomy. You can go through that video also, but first go through the video for a better understanding of vitreous embryology from Inside Ophthalmology. So there are primary vitreous, secondary vitreous, and tertiary vitreous. Primary is fifth week of the gestational age. It is vascular. There are hyaloid vessels and it develops from the mesenchyme in the ectoderm. And then there is secondary vitreous, and there is a condensation of the peripheral part of the vitreous, and tertiary vitreous is avascular. The secondary vitreous from the 5th week to the 12th week, and from the 12th week, that is after the 3 months to birth, or later on you can say, it is the tertiary vitreous, and tertiary vitreous is avascular. The persistent hyperplastic primary vitreous is divided into two parts, anterior and posterior. Anterior part means the posterior portion of the tunica vascular lentis. Tunica vascular lentis, that is the vessels supplying the lens. These are divided into two parts. Anterior part means the pupillary membrane, that is vascular, and the posterior part is the hyaloid vessels. Hyaloid vessel network, or capsular network, and this is from the hyaloid arteries. And this persistent hyperplastic primary vitreous means persistence of these vessels. So that is the anterior part. And posterior hyperplastic primary vitreous means the posterior part of the hyaloid artery is persistent, along with there can be Burgmeister papilla also. Along with that, the pictures I'll share here at the end of this video, or along with this video. That was all about the vitreous anatomy and embryology in short. Now in the second video, we can go through this vitreous hemorrhage from Namrata Sharma. In Ryan's retina, I didn't see a topic named vitreous hemorrhage. There are differential diagnoses of the vitreous hemorrhage which are described in detail. There are topics on it in the Ryan's retina, but I didn't find any chapter as such as vitreous hemorrhage in Ryan's retina. So I'm not going to read that topic from Ryan's retina. And the second topic will be central retinal vein occlusion. that is given in the Rhine's retina. First I'll read the Namrata Sharma and then the Rhine's retina. On the same day tomorrow I'll do that. So today we will finish the vitreous hemorrhage from Namrata Sharma, and I'll add certain pictures also for the better understanding. So bye.